We welcome you back to our special edition of CBS 11 News at 6. Today, we're taking a closer look at the testing options associated with COVID-19. We're going to continue our talk now with infectious disease specialist Dr. Julie Trivedi.
I'm going to venture to guess that the word antibody or antibodies is probably going to be one of the most searched words of 2020. Can you, in layman's terms, tell us what is it? Why do we want that?
Sure. Antibodies are basically proteins that are produced when your body is dealing with an infection. And so we see this in chickenpox, we see this in measles. So many infectious diseases will generate an immune response. And this is what an antibody is going to reflect. It's going to reflect whether or not your body has been exposed to a particular antigen or a pathogen and whether or not there's evidence of immunity there.
Is there any research yet that bears out how long COVID-19 antibodies may stay in the system at all?
So what we know from this first SARS outbreak in 2002 is that their antibodies might have been present for about 1 to 2 years. With the COVID-19 outbreak really being only about 3 to 4 months old, we are still in the early phases of seeing what the antibody responses are like, how long they last for, and really how much of an antibody response is enough to be protective.
From the very beginning, the science experts have told us vaccine, expect a possible vaccine. 12 to 18 months has been the general timeline, and they've explained what it takes to get there. Over the weekend, the president had talked about a vaccine by the end of 2020. What would the possibility be on something like that happening that fast?
I mean, if it happened that fast, I think we'd all be quite grateful. I think the important thing about a vaccine is to see, what population is it effective in, and when a vaccine is administered, does it generate an antibody response that will actually protect that individual from infection? If there were a vaccine, we'd want to be able to see that that individual does not become infected, 18 months down the line if they were vaccinated at month 12.
When a vaccine does come out, do we envision it, as we all know, kind of like the flu shot? It'll just be administered that way?
It's something similar to that. I think that there will be certain criteria and recommendations as far as who should be considered a priority individual for receiving that vaccine. I anticipate these might be people with underlying, medical conditions that could put them at risk for having severe disease if they were to become infected. It might be something that's also considered for healthcare workers to protect them in the line of duty. But yes, we don't know if this is something that might need to be administered every year or whether a one-time vaccine would be protective, kind of like chickenpox.
What do you say to those people who say, we cannot do this at the expense of the economy? The flu kills far more people than COVID-19, and we can say that at the moment. Obviously, that might change. What do you say to those people?
I mean, I think this is a really difficult scenario. I mean, when you think about being between a rock and a hard place, we know that whatever the decision that is made, there are lives that are going to be affected. We know that people are going to be experiencing hardship, financial hardship, economic hardship, physical hardship. We know that people are going to die. The flu does kill a lot of people every year, but we have medical treatments for the flu and we have vaccines for influenza, so we don't have those currently right now for COVID-19. The goal is not to necessarily prevent everyone from becoming sick, but to kind of slow the pace at which people do become infected, possibly, so that we don't overwhelm the healthcare system.
So you heard Dr. Trivedi talk a little bit about the antibody testing, which we spent some time on, which helps to determine if you've had COVID-19 by detecting the antibodies in your blood. Assessing this exposure on a large scale could be another key in reopening the economy safely. But as Aaron Jones points out now, not all tests are created equal.
Back in January, University of Texas professor Michael Weber attended the Las Vegas Consumer Electronics Show. Shortly after, he started feeling very sick.
The symptoms I had while I was sick matched the descriptions in the news around mid-January of the coronavirus that was just emerging.
He assumed he had the virus, but had no proof. Then, a few months later, COVID-19 antibodies tests hit the market. Weber took the finger prick test and tested positive. But in recent weeks, there's been concern some tests are flawed. Is this something that you've thought about?
Sure. So like everybody, I'm worried about the accuracy of the test and There are risks of false negatives and false positives. You want to know about its specificity and its accuracy and its precision and that kind of thing. And so I'm a guy who likes data as a professor, so I certainly want to know how good the tests are.
Right now, there are more than 200 tests on the market, but so far, only 12 of them have been authorized by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for emergency use. The FDA is now tightening the reins, ordering all test manufacturers to submit data proving their products are accurate.
They are trying to be a little bit more cautious and saying, okay, this test is out there and that's okay because you've, at least alerted us, but now you need to make sure that it's accurate and you need to send us this data.
The test that they chose was one of the better ones.
But still, Weber wonders how long his immunity will last.
While the antibody test does give me one more piece of data, one more piece of information and some peace of mind, which is that I have the antibodies, it actually doesn't answer all the questions. So there's still a lot of questions out there and a lot of precautions I have to take.
He's waiting and watching to see what happens before returning to his regular routine. In Dallas, Aaron Jones, CBS 11 News.
And we do know that doctors are urging recovered COVID-19 patients to donate their plasma, the blood plasma, for a national study that's ongoing. Researchers are testing a treatment also for plasma from recovered COVID-19 patients, injecting it into those who are currently hospitalized. 2 North Texas hospitals, including Medical City, are part of this nationwide study. Dr. Jaya Kumar at Medical City says that using plasma for infections has definitely worked in the past.
This is not the first time we've used convalescent plasma. We've used it for about a century in healthcare. The last time we used it was during the SARS and the MERS outbreaks, and we've used it successfully in those outbreaks.
UT Southwestern is also part of the study, by the way. The Red Cross says it will accept plasma donations from patients who have had confirmed COVID-19 diagnosis but are now symptom-free and also confirmed to be fully recovered. The antiviral drug remdesivir you've probably heard about, also showing some promise, but many health experts point out it's not the holy grail. Last week, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration did grant the experimental drug emergency use authorization to treat hospitalized patients with severe COVID-19. Studies find that patients who take remdesivir recover faster than patients who do not. While it may speed up recovery, it is important to note it does not stop people from catching COVID-19. And Methodist Dallas Medical Center says that 2/3 of its patients who were given remdesivir had some good results, with some patients who were on the verge of death able to then later recover and ultimately leave the hospital. So there is hope. With the daily challenges brought on by the pandemic, we here at CBS 11 want to make sure that you stay as informed as possible. We've got a full list of resources on our website, including testing sites and other guides as well. You'll find it. Just go to cbsdfw.com. You click on the coronavirus tab of choice. Living in a post-coronavirus world. In a moment, we're going to share some thoughts with you on where we've been and why that matters on where we're going.